Everyone's busy, April. It's a busy place.
It is busy. Yeah, it's been crazy. I was off yesterday and it just reminded me today of how I know why I don't take days off in the summer. Because today was like insane busy.
Oops. Thanks for the porta potty, Larry.
You're welcome. I wish all of your requests were that easy.
Larry, are you at the game?
Headed that way.
Are you? Okay, I was
Yeah.
going to ask you if you were going to be there. I'm home. I just told Mike to keep me updated, but maybe I'll chat with you on here and see what the score is.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit in the vehicle for a while as I until after my report and stuff, and then I'll be more active up there probably.
Our boys have a baseball game tonight.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, Vern.
Afternoon, Vern.
Travis said he might be a couple minutes late.
Well, there's only 3 of us here. I guess we get to go home. Nobody's touching that one, eh? Probably shouldn't.
Are you looking for a motion to adjourn?
Oh, Adam showed up too late.
I could have seconded that one, Jim. We can resume the meeting tomorrow.
Adam's the fun eater.
I do hear
Thanks,
that.
Adam.
Cheyenne looks way too relaxed to be having a council meeting there. Look at, she's got the umbrella in the background. Holy smokes. I need to get outdoors and live a little, eh?
It is beautiful outside. I highly suggest it.
Mr. Mayor, I think you should stay inside. That way this meeting will go faster so you can get outside.
Have you looked over the
Just a
agenda?
little mind hack there.
You notice the agenda?
Just a little
for-
mind. A couple of add-ons. It's not that bad.
Everyone is big. Lot going on, too much. Oh, Travis is here now. Just waiting for Marty, I guess. All right, just a couple minutes. I'll grab you, Steve.
Is this our last Zoom meeting?
I don't know.
Oh, I hope so.
Stephanie's got 250 things on her desk. All right, I'll call to order the regular meeting of the Chisholm City Council for June 23rd, 2021. Margaret, could you take a roll call?
Counselor Helverson,
Present.
Counselor Michelaraha,
Present.
Counselor Fountain,
Here.
Counselor Lance.
Here.
Counselor Baki,
Here.
Mayor Champa.
Here. Adopt the agenda, council. A few items to add again tonight. Item number 2 under Stephanie, $5,000 grant from Iron Range Resources to a resolution to accept that, apply and accept, having to do with the land development next to Delta. That would be B2. E4. Iron Range Motorcycle Club request to have some dedicated parking, be under Vern as a 4th item. We had the resolution 0621-63. We had an updated one with some changes on it that we received. So we'll be replacing that. Last item, I believe, ATV Club, the pass-through money from the DNR and the contract so that they can start using that money. So I think that's everything. Margaret, does that sound like everything?
Yes, it does, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Council, I'm looking for a motion to accept the agenda with those changes, please.
Motion to accept the agenda with those changes.
Thank you, Adam. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yep, go ahead, Mark. Marty.
there's going to be a discussion item for opening the Rim Trail at Redhead for this weekend's grand opening. Leave it up to you to decide if we need to vote on that or not, or if you need to just be a report only.
You want to do it during your report, Marty, or what do you want to do?
I can, but I don't know if it requires a vote or not to go ahead and open that up for the weekend.
Council, let's just add a 4th item under myself that Marty brought forward. Discussion on that Rim Trail. Adam, you okay with that?
I'll amend my motion.
I'll do the same for the second.
Thanks, Travis. Council, anything else before we vote? All right, Margaret.
Counselor Helverson,
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha,
Aye.
Counselor Fountain,
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki,
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, the agenda is adopted. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public participation. We have a few folks in here. These are agenda items as well after, but first we have Rovina Claxton with North Shore Human Resources Consulting LLC. Also shows up a proposal from her as our first item tonight. So I'll just welcome Rovina. Good evening, Rovina.
Thank you. Thank you for your time this evening.
Would you just like to just chat a little bit about a little bit about your proposal and what services you hope to provide for us?
Okay, certainly. Stephanie and I talked several weeks ago. I was referred to Stephanie from the Northland Small Business Development Center. And I've been working with them for the last year, working with small businesses on their HR needs, particularly surrounding the pandemic and all the things that brought with it. But I understand from Stephanie that in the absence of a city administrator, you're still wanting to make some progress on updating personnel policies and practices, handbook, job descriptions, things that are important in recruiting and retaining staff. In terms of expectations, updates, making sure your handbook is compliant with all of the latest things from a Minnesota or federal statute perspective. So this proposal is designed to help you address those needs, keep things moving along in terms of making sure things are up to date and contemporary and serve your needs. This is an arrangement. I can certainly provide other things that go along with human resources, whether it's performance management, updating performance appraisals, making sure that you have good development and training plans in place, handling employee relation issues or labor grievances, all of those things I can certainly assist with as well. So I have experience in all elements of human resources, having worked in this business for 30 plus years, primarily in manufacturing, healthcare, and my husband and I have owned a retail business in the Twin Cities for 13 plus years. So I have certainly experience in dealing with many areas for all areas of human resources. Occupational safety and health is also expertise that I bring to the party. And those are the kinds of things that I understand from Stephanie, our needs for the city.
Okay, thank you, Ravina. Stephanie, quick question for you. I didn't get a lot of time to talk to you about it, but when we get to this agenda item, can you talk about some specifics for us on how you hope to use Ravina? We don't need to do it now. We can take it up then. Just so you have some thoughts ahead of time. I know a little bit of it, but Council, do you have any questions for Ravina at this time? She may not be here when we get to the item on the agenda. I guess you answered everything.
Okay.
Thank you, Ravina. Appreciate you coming.
Mayor, if I may, I just wanted to say hi, Ravina.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, and I've read a lot about you, and I'm really excited about what you could do for the city.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ravina.
Okay, very good.
Have a good evening. If you cut out, if not, you're welcome to stick around and listen in.
I'll go ahead and exit here. Thank you again.
Yep. Okay, next on public participation, we have Marco Hunt with Apex Facility Solutions, SBC. And then I seen another name, a Mark on here as well. Going to talk a little bit about some discussions that Stephanie, Ed Chamnick, who I see is on here as well, and these folks discussed with regard to the arena. So welcome. I'll just open it up for you.
Thanks. This is Mark Rasmussen, by the way, not Mark, as the label says. I've got a little problem with my IT department, so I apologize for that. We're with Apex, and we were introduced to the city through Mark Rodrigo, who's a refrigeration contractor out of Virginia, Minnesota. And he thought we could help the city in looking at the sports center and figuring out ways to potentially repair or improve it in a cost-effective manner and possibly find savings throughout the city that could help buy down what's needed there. So our company specializes in ice arena work, municipalities, schools K-12, and we focus on energy, renewables, and creative funding. So we look for money in any way we can find it. We did the preliminary audit with staff, and we found some opportunity, but we also found a lot of capital need in the facility. So I'm sure the council and staff is aware that system is fairly old. And in fact, it really is at the end of its life, and you are faced with a decision. And the decision is do you repair it, upgrade it, or let it die? And it's at that point in its life. It could possibly last another year or two, or it could be catastrophically failed tomorrow. No one really knows, but it's at that point in its life. So what we did is we found some things, and it's a capital heavy project, and it looks to us like there's probably enough energy and operational savings to buy that down by about 800,000. It's hard to tell until you do a detailed study, but that's what we're proposing tonight, would be if the city is interested in keeping the sports center operational. We offered that a directed engineering study where we would do a detailed analysis, create a line by line list of improvements or potential improvements with installation costs, savings, and rebates. And you could also possibly find grants like Mighty Duck money and other things like that, so that the city could then say yes to line by line improvements or no to some or some mixture. But until you would have that detailed investment grade information, it's difficult to say exactly what makes sense for the city. So Marco, do you have anything to add to that?
No, you just thank you guys very much for allowing us to come on here. I think what's important to know is that what Mark was saying is the study itself is kind of vital to a roadmap, and how do we keep the arena open, and how do we get that funded. And those are some of the things that we would investigate as we moved along into a study. And that study, the fee for that study is not an upfront fee. It's a fee that could be rolled into any potential project, but nonetheless is an engineering fee.
Thank you, guys. Council, questions for Mark or Marco at this point? In case they're not on later.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question.
Go ahead, Travis.
In your proposal then, is it my understanding that you would list potential grants or funding opportunities that we could go after?
Yes.
Or is that not part of your?
No, we would look for different opportunities. And in fact, during the process of the study, we would want to actively go after those opportunities. So like I said, Mighty Ducks could be one. There could be potential incentives coming out from some of the legislation that's going through right now. IRRB, we could try. They probably aren't that interested in a project like this, but it's worth trying, definitely. And then we would support the city during the process of the study to obtain any funds we could from any source we could, in addition to utility rebates and some of the normal things.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Council, anything else there? Just FYI, Council, Stephanie did put in a bonding request for improvements in the arena. So this would be a step we're going to need to do in order to ever qualify for any bonding. So for the most part, or it's going to be a step they're going to want to see that we've taken. So that's about it. Anything else for Mark or Marco before we move on? Thank you, gentlemen. We have you on the agenda as a second item tonight, if you care to stick around.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that concludes our public participation for now. Move on to reports. Let's start way over on the right with Adam tonight.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. No formal report.
Okay. Cheyenne, report tonight.
Good evening. No formal report.
Travis. Report tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Just a couple of things for me. I attended the Juneteenth celebration this past weekend, and Councillor Fountain was also there. It was very nice to meet some people and learn a little bit about VEMA, and this is the first time I had met Sharapia, so thank you to VEMA for that invitation. it was fairly well attended, and it's got opportunity to grow each year, like most events do here in Chisholm. So I did attend that. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for that report on Juneteenth. I was out of town, so I didn't hear how it went. So it's good to hear that it went well. April, report tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, and everybody at home. And I just want to say, also, Councillor Nicola Raha was also there. She was able to attend the Juneteenth celebration as well early on in the celebration, so that was awesome. I also like to say Happy Pride Month. June is Pride Month, so I'd like to say Happy Pride Month to everybody. And that concludes my report, and it's good to see everybody tonight.
Thank you, April. Marty, report tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Only thing to report on is Stephanie and I met with the Rock Solid Trail Builders last week out at Redhead to go over their work scope. And then I rode around with their representative, Tim, and we looked at 4 of the sites and they came up with I think, a good plan. And then I'll also be talking about opening the Rim Trail later, as John mentioned under his agenda item number 4. We're talking about the Rim Trail for this weekend's grand opening at Redhead. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Myself report tonight. HRA continues to, as far as I know, we're doing good. We're catching up on items. We submitted our budget to the HUD financing people we have to do that every year, so we get our funding. So we did that in the last meeting. Not a lot going on there. I did ask the board. I had actually April asked me if the board would consider moving the meeting back later. I did ask them. They would consider moving it slightly, but 6 o'clock was too late. Most of the people on there are retired, and they kind of looked at me like it was nuts when I said 6 o'clock. So that's the feedback I'll give you, April. That's all I can tell you. When Larry comes up, I'm going to have him report on what happened at the PUC for me if he could, because I was not able to attend this meeting, but there were some kind of interesting things that happened there. So looking forward to the Redhead grand opening this weekend. Saturday is also my wedding anniversary, so I'm not sure how that's all going to play out yet. I'm going to try to be up there, but we'll see. Sometimes I'm not even in town when I have my anniversary. Wives tend to help you with those decisions. But yeah, that's going to be fun. Lots going on there. Looking forward to getting that officially open. Some good entertainment and music up there and stuff. So that's going to be fun. I think that's everything for me.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Travis.
Hey, I forgot to mention, I just wanted to give a shout out to Noble Lee and her family. They were the first family to submit an art, a garbage can with art on it. So we do have one entry so far, and that does run through the end of August. But thank you to Noble Lee and her family for doing that.
Nice. All right, so we'll move on to our staff reports if there's nothing else there. Building official, Mandy, report tonight. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. I don't have any formal report unless there are any questions of me. I do have something on the agenda just for informational purposes only regarding some tax forfeited land that we want to pull from the auction, and we can discuss it at that point, but otherwise no formal report.
Thank you, Mandy. Council, anything for Mandy? Moving on, Economic Development Coordinator. Stephanie, report on that side of your job.
Just a quick report following up from what you said about the Redhead grand opening. a lot of things happening at Saturday at MDC at the trailhead, and then on Friday night in town here, we're going to have a band at the Minnesota Museum of Mining from 5 to 7, and then there'll also be a band at the Pocket Park from 6 to 8 on Friday night too. So just to be aware of that.
Stephanie, I've seen the schedule floating around on Facebook and things like that. Do we have what's going on our website?
On our website, we have it on our Facebook page.
Okay.
I can put it up on the website also.
Yeah, I just, people might be wondering. So as long as it's on the Facebook, that's fine. All right, Council, anything for Stephanie at this point? Thank you, Stephanie. Engineer Jim Johnson, report tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. I have no formal report, but I do want to thank the council for allowing Public Works Department to go ahead and buy that camera. So I am busy reviewing sanitary sewer main lines where we're hoping to do our mill and overlay project later this year. So it's a very useful and dynamic tool, and we'll make great use of it. So again, thank you very much.
Takes an engineer to find excitement in reviewing sewer lines, eh, Jim?
That's my dirty movie agenda. Me and Mandy have that.
Council, anything for Jim? Thank you, Jim. We'll move on. Larry, Public Works, report tonight. Good evening. You're muted or something. I don't know. I can see your face. Oh, better.
Better?
Yes.
Okay. So just a quick report. You asked about the PUC meeting. We talked a little bit about budgeting and next year's work, and one of them came up is we are officially going to abandon an old pump house that we had on record with the EPA and Department of Health as a backup water source, which we don't use or have or the capability even. So we're constantly updating records and stuff like that, and we're going to abandon that well house. That's the one out in Balkan, like more northeast of town there. So, and then the other thing is we started utility shutoffs this week for
I think we lost you.
Everything other than that, Mayor, was
Did we lose you again?
Service.
All right, Council, anything for Larry? Seems like he's cutting out a little bit, so it's a little difficult.
Sorry, Mayor, I don't know why that is.
It says Larry Folstad's network bandwidth is low. There's your solution. Okay. All right, we'll move on from Larry. Thank you, Larry. Fire Chief, I think I seen Chris was on here tonight. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, everybody. No formal report from the fire department tonight.
Thank you, Chris. Council, anything for Chris? I did not see Katie on here, did I? No? Okay, we'll move past her. Police Chief Vern, report tonight?
I don't have a formal report, just what's on the agenda unless there's questions for me.
Council, anything for the chief? Rec Director Tammy, good evening. Report tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilor. Yes, I have a short report. Summer rec started on Monday. Our numbers are quite down as of today. We have 55 people registered. After talking to my directors and staff, they really feel they can handle the two groups at one time. So on Monday, we're going to offer the summer rec 4 days a week to all the people registered. And I'm quite confident they'll be able to do it. But it was kind of a nice break-in for the younger kids, I have to say, to meet the staff because they had more one-on-one and making them feel comfortable, where a lot of the older kids have done the program. So that's what's happening in the summer rec program. Just an update on the pier. I know I have something later. It will not be installed until mid-August. They're still working on the float devices on that. And on July 22nd, the Hibbing Chisholm Band will be playing at Kiwanis Park. We'll have to provide some chairs and power for them. And the improvement to the backstop, that should be happening July 12th and 13th. So with that, that's all I have to report on. I have some items later on.
Thank you, Tammy. Council, any questions for Tammy? All right, move on. City Attorney report tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. No formal report, but I am happy to field any questions the council would have for me.
Attorney Lindsay, can you address Travis's question that he asked you before the meeting about what changes on July 1 with regard to the governor's orders, mandates, whatnot?
I can, I'll do my best to summarize what really the effect of the change that's scheduled to occur as of July 1st. So there's certain provisions that sunset June 30th. A lot of that involves the complete elimination of group size restrictions and those types of limitations. It opens a few things up as far as collections and recouping money if you've got some money outstanding. A lot of the major changes have occurred already as far as the reduction in mask requirements, the kind of the scale back on social distance requirements. And I think the ultimate question that was posed or that exists is whether or not the council could meet in person. There is at this point nothing that absolutely prevents that. All those things being said, I do note, and I'm sure we're all aware, that the governor has extended the peacetime emergency into mid-July already. So that continues, but the actual restrictions that prevented us for a good period of time from meeting in person have all been scaled back. And assuming we're all well, and if a majority of the council is vaccinated, it wouldn't really be too much of a problem to get together for in-person meetings, assuming we can arrange our space a little bit.
Thank you, Brian. Just to follow up to what Brian said as well, Stephanie and I have been discussing, as you know, we're in a renewal period, trying to renew with our public access folks and figure that all out. And part of that is we're trying to figure out what equipment we need to start televising meetings again, if they have what they need, if we need to purchase something, if they're supposed to purchase it, if we're supposed to purchase it. So we're working through that, and hopefully within a meeting or so we're back live. So that's the goal. You know, if we do forego the first meeting in July, which is an item later in the agenda, hopefully by the second meeting in July, we're closer if we're not there. So, Council, anything else for the attorney? All right, we'll move on. Administrator, clerk, treasurer. We'll start with Eileen tonight. Good evening, Eileen. Report.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of items. Our accounting intern has all his documentation on file. He's ready to go. So we're going to start him tomorrow morning. His name is Tyler Copeland. So he'll be sitting up at the desk up front in the lobby. He's ready to go. His PC's ready to go. So can't wait for him to start. Bonnie and Jeff should be here to begin and commence the audit beginning either Wednesday or Thursday next week. And we're going to put them in the administrator's office. We have it already set up for them, so it's ready to go as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Council, anything for Eileen? Stephanie, administrator side report tonight.
Yes. I just want to report that Eileen and myself met with Joe and Tony Sertich pertaining to the ambulance building. We had a really good conversation with them. I'm going to reach out to a couple appraisal companies, and then we will have more of a report after somebody is decided on and who will be appraising that building. Eileen, do you have any additional comments to our meeting?
Only that it was a very pleasant and productive conversation.
Yeah. We did discuss the furnishings in the building and then also the supplies, if we wanted to include that in the appraisal price. The other thing I wanted to touch on, which is more on the economic development side, I just want the council to be aware that Gary Showquest did a VIP business tour of Redhead, and he took today he took 8 individuals into Redhead, and then tomorrow he has another group that's going into Redhead, and they toured the facility and discussed the economic impact on what that could mean for their businesses and the local economy.
Thank you, Stephanie. Council, anything for Stephanie? All right. That concludes our reports. We'll move on. Consent agenda, list of bills that Eileen sent out a little earlier. Communications, which are the Airport Authority minutes. Public Utilities Commission minutes. Arrowhead Library System 2021 annual budget. Community Development Block Grant Citizen Advisory Committee opening. Minutes of the previous City Council meeting, June 2nd, 2021 working session, June 9th, 2021 regular meeting, payroll and overtime. I get a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Mayor. Council Fountain.
Thank you, April. Second for that.
Second, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Discussion, corrections.
I do have one comment. Is there a way, I know I don't want to ask any more of anyone. I know everyone's plate is extremely full already, but is there any way that we could get a update every so often on items that we discuss in a working session? I feel like we talk about them a lot and then we never hear about them until we have to bring them up 3 months later.
Well, everything's possible. The problem is we got about 300 things going on all at once. I mean, we'd have to probably know a little more about what you'd like to get updates on.
Well, I guess I'll just use the school contract as an example. So that's been on the table for quite some time. We had a good discussion about where we saw it going at our working session. And, school will be here before you know it. And so I'm wondering if, maybe at the next meeting, we could get a report as far as if someone reached out to the school to have a further conversation, or if we'll have a draft or things like that.
So let me answer that for you. I know Stephanie's sitting there; she wants to answer that. A lot of the things that are the hands-on day-to-day operations, Stephanie they're all falling on her plate for the most part. When it comes to the actual, the real action items, things like you're talking about. So the best thing you could do would be to reach out to her and ask her some of that. But I can give you an update on that one specifically. She has reached out to the school. I've also exchanged some Facebook Messenger messages with the new superintendent, and he wants to get together with me for a lunch, and Stephanie wants to get together. We're trying to put together a meeting with him so we can start that discussion. So to answer that one, it's pretty easy. But like I said, most of this stuff is on Stephanie's desk, and that's why she's very, very, very busy. But so reach out to her first, and that's all I can suggest. Stephanie, anything you want to add there on that particular one before we move on?
No, that was accurate. What you said, we've reached out to the school. We're just waiting to hear back from them.
All right, so we have motion support to accept consent agenda. No further discussion. I'll have Margaret take a vote.
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye. Sorry.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Okay, so on to the agenda. Earlier, we heard from Ravina Claxton with North Shore Human Resources Consulting. If we could, maybe I'll turn this over to Stephanie. She has some specific things she's thinking Roxina could help us with. Maybe we'll have her talk a little bit about some thoughts she has and see if she can convince us we should get her to help.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I think it's really important that we have an HR professional that we're able to consult. At this point, the majority of my consulting goes to Attorney Lindsay when it comes to HR, just issues or concerns. The other thing that I think would be really valuable to have a professional available is, like Ravina said, getting our employee handbook up to speed of where it needs to be, our policies, having her expertise and her background to make sure that we're following all the guidelines that we need to be following within that realm. It's really important. Like we've said, our plates are all pretty full, so updating policies at this point isn't really feasible on myself or Eileen's plate. And I was pretty excited to find her with the background that she has and the ability that I'm hoping she can bring to the table. Eileen, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, greatly said, Stephanie. Yeah, just the time that's required to address HR issues really does cause a challenge, especially when you're focused on other things. And also, Stephanie and I did an analysis of the cost that Rovina Services will require, and we did find some money in the budget to cover these costs. No problem for the remainder of the year. Thanks, Stephanie.
Council discussion or a motion to allow our administrators bring Rovina in?
Make a motion, Mr. Mayor, for a 1-year commitment, 4 hours per week, as per contract, $1,000 per month, and then $75 per hour over 4 hours per week.
Okay, thank you, April. Stephanie, Eileen, does April's motion cover what you're hoping to do?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second for April's motion?
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Council, further discussion on that item?
I do have one question. My small concern, I guess, would be when dealing with an employee issue, I guess. Would you simply just go to her for feedback and make your own decision between the two of you as acting administrators? Or would you ask her to make that decision as a third party? And how, if that was the way you would do that, how would that then deal with unions if there's any issues with that, being she's not a administrator?
Hey, Brian, did you hear that question? It might be better answered by you, how she would play in on things like that.
It would, Mayor, if I may, it would depend a lot on the way that the contract was written. Although what my gut tells me is if we're taking action that affects an employee's employment and or issuing a discipline, we would probably want the primary agents of the city to do that. We would want somebody who's employed by the city full time as as an administrator or part of management to do that.
I agree with Attorney Lindsay.
Anything else, Council? Any other questions? Okay, we do have a motion and support to approve the proposal from Ravina Claxton with North Shore Human Services. There's no further discussion. I'll have Margaret take a vote.
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. That motion carries. Second item under Stephanie, proposal from Marco Hunt with Apex Facility Solutions. Ed Chambernick is on with us as well if you have questions, but this is really the first step to seeing what this is all going to cost us and putting together a real engineering study. So I'm 100%, I can tell you I'm 100% in favor of this proposal because we need to do it or we're tearing the building down. It's really it. So that's my thoughts on it. Stephanie, it's your item, but I'll let you follow up that if you'd like.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mayor Champa, that the facility is kind of to the point that if we don't move forward to do something like Marco and Mark said, it's just within time of when the facility will be closed. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Ed, any updates on how the arena went and everything this year? I know you had to shut her down halfway through the year.
Things that were troublesome all year. We shut down the 1st of March. It took us a little over a week to find the problem and fix it, which we lost our ice. And this problem is just going to continue on and on for us. Like I said, this company Apex was referred by Mark Rodrigo. He's the owner of Commercial Refrigeration. He's the guy that's built the plant and worked on the plant ever since it was built 40 plus years ago.
All right. Council will be looking for a motion to a contract with Apex Facility Solutions. I think it was 19.5. Let me get to the right page. I'm not there. Yeah, for $19,400 to do that study to figure out what our direction is going to be on that arena.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Travis. Second for that?
Support.
Is that Marty?
Adam.
Adam. Thank you, Adam. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, moving on. Moving on to Stephanie again. Application for United Way to use the Redhead Mountain Bike Trail. Pretty straightforward, but I'll let her talk a little bit about it. Steph?
Yes, United Way in Northeast Minnesota has requested the use of the mountain bike trail for a 5K. I just want the council to know just the process on how these are going to be handled. We have the form that anybody that would like to have an event there, they would fill that form out. I would communicate that form to the Minnesota Discovery Center and IROC, so everybody's on the same page. And obviously we work closely with Larry and probably Chief Manor, letting them know what kind of events will be happening in town at the time and how big that they would be. If we need any additional garbages or anything like that, we'll be partnering with MDC and get things accomplished for these events. I think there's 500 racers that they're anticipating at this one.
I have a question for Ms. Graba, Mrs. Graba, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, April.
Do they need a permit to sell the beer?
Yes, yep. So they'll have to partner with MDC as far as the liquor license. The other thing is then they would also have to, any of these forms are going to require them that we would be on their insurance for that race too. So we have to make sure we get all that proper documentation. But yeah, so anything that has to do with alcohol would have to go through somebody with a liquor license.
Mr. Mayor, I also have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Marty.
I didn't see a map or a site plan attached. Could you send one out, Stephanie? You don't have to do it now at some point.
Yeah, we will get one. She had to mail that portion of it, and I haven't received it yet. So that I will get that information out.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. That's the one other thing too, just so council's aware. We're not going to be shutting down the whole park for any one event. So that's why we want to make sure that we have an idea of what portion of the park needs to be shut down. Since it's a city park, it still needs to be open for a certain degree for the general public.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, you jumped ahead of me. Perfect. Thank you, April. Is there a second for April's motion to allow that event to take place?
Support, Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Council, further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Second item, when we added resolution 0621-64, file an application, accept funds from Department of Iron Range Resource Rehabilitation for $5,000 for development of that property to the west of Delta that we're looking at building on. I'd look for a motion to adopt that resolution, and
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
thank you, April. Second for that?
Work.
Thank you, Travis. Stephanie, anything you want to add to that I didn't say there?
No, thank you.
Further discussion, council?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Marty.
It's only $5,000. What is this going to be going for? Is it for engineering or planning, or what is it for?
No, it's just for site work, soil bearings. We have $5,000 from Minnesota Power that we already have received, and then we have $5,000 from the economic development in City of Chisholm for the site work. Any kind of water assessment, soil bearings, that sort of thing. There'll be another grant opportunity for like the parking and landscaping and all of those other things will come up after we have a development agreement.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other discussions before we vote? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. The motion carries. Thank you, Stephanie, for all that. Move on to Mandy's informational item, tax forfeit property acquisition parcel 020-0210-00030. Andy?
Okay, Council and Mayor. So basically what this is a parcel that is going to be going tax forfeit. And what I wanted to do was submit an application to the county to hold this for us so it does not go on public auction. It is adjacent to our cemetery, so we could always use the land, to add on to our cemetery if we ever need it, or we could also use it for new development. Right now, what I did on our application, I did note that we would be using it for future use for public use, which would be probably just an extension of the cemetery for now. I did just want to get it pulled off of the auction so we would have the first chance at it for ownership.
Absolutely. I think this is a great idea, Mr. Mayor and Mandy. I'll like to make that motion.
Mandy, is that what you're gonna need, a motion to reach out to him to
It's
pull it off?
actually right now, we will in the future. It's basically for informational purposes only. But we will ask for a motion later on. I
Okay,
just wanted to let the council know that we are giving the application to the county to pull it, so.
okay. Well, I think you'll get the motion when you need it.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. All right, we'll move on. Larry. Cemetery water system.
Apologize for earlier, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly now.
We
Okay, Mayor.
can. Yep, you're much better.
Thank you. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask always. So the hot topic right now is cemetery. It started with this year having a very busy spring with the early snow leaving and the grass growing like crazy, and then we just had extra problems with the water system at cemetery this year, and had a hard time keeping up with the breaks. And we even had our water department out there for almost a whole week, fixing water breaks. So it's a real shallow old system. It hasn't been. It's so old and so pieced together that sometimes you don't even know where to start and you don't know where it ends. So we've had a real rough spring out there with supplying water, and then it rolled into a rumor on Facebook about potential cost to replace the water system. And we don't even have options to bring to council yet to share with you or the public. So it just really spiraled out of control. And if some of you are familiar with the Facebook stuff there, it ended up 6,000 to 8,000, and then it turned into 68,000, which can get messy. And how are we going to pay for this? What are we going to do? And what I want to share with all of you is feel free to reach out anytime with any numbers, any rumor, hearing, thing like that. And I can give you the facts. I can share the facts, what I know, where we're at. And in this example, we don't even know what our options yet, let alone the cost. So, and I want to bring those to council as soon as we get through this busy spring into summer here, and some of these projects are done, and I can really look at options and what we should do at the cemetery. We really got to look at what services we want to provide at the cemetery. We don't know. If you go to the cemetery in Buell, it's my understanding, they have barrels there, and they fill barrels, and then you're able to grab your milk jug or your pail, and you get a gallon of water or what have you, and then you go water your flowers and maintain, with that. And then other cemeteries have a water spigot at every plot or every area, and then others have just a couple on the grounds where you can come fill a jug and you go do your thing. So we don't even know what services we want to provide yet, but I promise to bring it to council in the future and really have a good discussion about it.
You need anything from us tonight, Larry, or?
No, just if there's any feedback at all, if anybody's reached out to any of the councilors or yourself, Mayor, or any other city official even, we just don't know what we're going to do yet, but any feedback is always helpful. If there's any comments at all is fine. Otherwise, just informational at this time that we just really, and where we're at is we just really don't know what we're doing. So.
Council, any feedback before we move on?
One idea, Larry, is, I don't know, maybe directional drilling in some deeper plastic pipe and having an occasional spigot head that's dug in so you don't have to be digging up the roads out there. That might be a cheap way to get some water pipe set out there.
That was almost our exact thought, Councilor Halverson. I had Stephanie out there so she could understand too, and we kind of thought maybe one spigot at every road that comes in. There's like 6 roads on the south side and 3 on the north. Maybe so then it's 9 total, and then we expanded that in the future if we really need. And really, what happened with the cemetery is, you know, we have piping from the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s. Well, the cemetery started off small. Then they added a plot, and they added a plot, and they added a plot. Well, then it went from 4-inch to 2-inch, back to 3-inch. Then it went to black iron pipe, which is now rusting out and pinhole leaks all over. Then it went to copper, because copper was the newest, coolest thing. And it's just a piecemeal and it's just really hit its mark now. And it's just gonna fail, and we're gonna have to do something. And then now, like, there's PEX tubing now, which I think that you can do, and you can even let it freeze, and it actually can withstand that expansion. And that was never an option, even really 10 years ago, really, or it was, but it wasn't widely used. And now you can directional bore, like you said, and you use like a 2-inch conduit, and you run PEX tubing into it, and it can freeze. And it's really not a problem, and it's shallow, you know. And I think it's directional boring right now. You can get between $10 and $12 a foot if they're in the area, so fairly reasonable. So, yeah, that's exactly what we'll look at.
Larry, just a kind of a crazy question. I mean, if you went out there with spray paint, would you be able to actually draw a map of where every pipe is, or don't you know where any of them are?
Yeah, we could find a good sum of them, but it's a mystery. Like you say, water goes through and through this plot to feed that plot, and then it comes back around and circles back, and then that broke, and then to put a new line in. It's a real mess. It truly, truly is.
Aren't we all lucky to be here when everything's falling apart from 100 years ago, and we all get to take care of it? Lucky us.
Truly,
all right. Keep working on it. We're going to want to, you know, like I said, I haven't got a lot of feedback, but, you know, I did have, you know, one person mention, you know, his 90-year-old mom, you know, watering dad's grave and having to walk halfway across the cemetery. So I think we all understand the difficulty there. Did you mention that you had, for the most part, it's pretty much up and running, all of it now?
Yeah, so I think we're at 100% for right now. You know, it's day to day. A spigot gets knocked over, or it just finally rusts through enough, and we find a puddle out there, and then we fix when we can. But really, I think we're at 100% right now.
Okay. Council, anything on that before we move on? Thank you, Larry. Move on to Vern, second reading, amending City Code Chapter 111 Gambling Ordinance. Second reading is when we vote this thing up or down. Anything you want to add, Vern?
Nope, it's pretty much self-explanatory.
So, Council, I think we'd vote her up or down. If we voted, I think, I don't know, Attorney Lindsay could chime in if he wants, but I think we have to do our normal posting in the newspaper to change or whatever, and go from there. And when that's all done, it takes effect. Is that correct, Brian? Close enough?
That is absolutely correct, Mayor.
Okay. So Council would be looking for a motion to accept the second reading, which would essentially change this ordinance with a positive vote. So look for that motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Is there a second for that?
Support.
Thank you, Travis. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Mikola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. And that motion carries. Vern, I'll let you take the next one for Megan Smart Wedding.
Megan Smart is obviously sent a letter and a map to look at closing that road by her parents' house or for a week. Typically, council, any closure of Lake Street normally comes to the council. Any street off of not involving Lake Street or 73 typically comes just the administrator and myself. And of course, on those, typically we work with Larry to make sure if there's going to be overtime or anything else. These requests all were addressed to the council, so we kept them on the agenda. But as I look at this request, this is in such a low traffic area. There's only one resident that would be affected by it that lives across the street from them, and that resident actually made the suggestion to just shut the street down because they're going to have things on both sides of the street. They're not utilizing the streets. So if there was an emergency where ambulance or fire truck needed to get through, they're not going to have anything in the street. They just wanted to be able to have the kids and stuff go back and forth between a couple of tents. So given the fact of where it is, all they would probably need is to borrow some cones from the public works and effectively shut down that street through traffic. So I think it's no brainer. It's something cool you can do in a small town. So I give it my blessing. Just looking for the council approval.
Council looking for a motion to let Chief Manor and our staff make this decision, which I would hope would be a positive to allow her to do that, since it's kind of a decision he's allowed to make anyway. So,
Make that
Mr.
motion.
Mayor,
yes, somebody said something.
Cheyenne, go ahead. You can make that motion.
Thanks. I'll make that motion, sorry.
Travis, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'll support the motion. I just wanted to let Vern know that that's probably my bad. I didn't know she actually reached out to me, and the only thing I knew to tell her was to draft a letter and send it to Stephanie and to the council. So at least I know for future now.
Well, and Travis, that's not a bad thing, and it's always good to go to council. But I think it probably just been referred to me, just because the letter was addressed to the council. I thought maybe we should just put it on, but in the future, it could be just deferred to us as well, to the staff.
Perfect.
Council, we do have motion and support to direct us to the city police chief to make the decision with city staff in the hopes that they will allow her to do this. I think is what we all feel. There's no further discussion, Margaret.
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michalaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki. Mayor Champa.
Aye. That motion carries. Next item under Vern, we have a request from Marty Halverson to block off some areas near his home to have a band in his front yard on the same while we're doing our grand opening for the Redhead. I think I'm going to let Vern talk about this now, but I think Marty has only asked for a little bit of parking in front of his home, but I think the chief is going to suggest that, once again, this is a decision he can make, but I think he's going to suggest that we block the whole block so that people don't, other than residential parking, so that people don't accidentally drive down there and have to back out. So, Vern, would that be correct?
Correct, Mayor. And Marty, forgive me if I'm wrong. The last time we did this, like 4 years ago, we did the whole street. And I'm not sure about your request. Is it just the like couple spots right in front of your place, or is it all the way across the street? Because if it's all the way across the street, my idea is if we do it on the ends of the block, people don't go halfway down the street and go, oh, it's closed, and have to try to make a U-ball or back out and then back into one of the avenues. So if you were looking to go all the way across the street in front of your place, I would suggest doing it on the ends. And your street doesn't get a lot of traffic. That way it's the avenues that get a lot more, so it's a lot easier to block there. Unless you're just thinking the two spots in front of yours and your neighbor's house.
Yeah, Vern, I was not intending to block off the whole width of the street. I was just going to cone off the parking lane in front of my house and maybe in front of my neighbors a little bit, just to give people a little bit more room there and keep it open to traffic, but just cone off the parking lane, and that way people can still drive through or drive by.
Okay. And my only other question is, where would people be standing? You know, if we can, I try to keep people out of the traffic if we can. So, and I don't have a problem just doing that. So you have a little buffer there, but I just don't want people, you know, in the street and that's open, you know. So we want to just be aware of any safety concerns, and we can work with you and Public Works to come up with the best solution for this.
Council motion to direct this to the chief of police and city staff to work with resident Halverson to come up with the best plan to secure that area during his party. How's that?
Motion.
Thank you, Travis. Second for that.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, the address is 322 Southwest First Street, across from the skating rink. Everyone is welcome.
Time to start. Time you're starting.
It'll be from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Saturday.
Thank you, Marty. Council, further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki. Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Last item under Vern, the one we added, IRMC request. I'll just let Vern take this one. I think even though we're not blocking anything, we're kind of coning things. So I think we might need council approval on this.
This one here, Mayor, does for sure need council approval because it is of Lake Street. And this is one where when we block Lake Street, especially sitting up by 73, over by Snickers, we have to use the class 3 barricades, and people have an expectation of safety on that busy street. So that will for sure take overtime for the public works. This every year the IRMC does a large benefit. They've always say they will do a benefit for anybody who requests one, but every year they've been doing a benefit for different group. And you can see in the letter they're wanting to donate all the money to Bill's House, which is the homeless shelter over in Virginia. For this year, last year they weren't able. There were bars open to do it for the last couple of years. They come to town to try to bring business to town, and they just want to stage in the morning and then leave. They come back, but they don't need. They just want to stage like all the other rides we used to do, or even the 4-wheeler rides. So I'd recommend City Council okay the closing of Lake Street for that 200 block for the time requested.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, April. Second for that.
Support. Adam.
Thank you, Adam. Just a comment, Vern. I don't know that they're asking to close the street, are they?
Yeah, when I actually talked to him, his letter is a little vague, but when I sat and talked to him, they wanted, like last time, they expect, at first they were thinking, just one side for bikes, but they expect a lot more bikes. So they're thinking to block the whole street would be safer. So that's what they requested. Like we did the last time, we ended up blocking the whole street for them. So.
Okay, good. We have motion and support. Any other discussion, council? I just got to say, I love these events we have here all the time. It's a small price to pay to have people get out and do the things they love. So, and support a good cause. Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion carries. Vern, thank you for all that. Moving on to Tammy, resolution 0621-62 Longyear Lake Public Fishing Pier Land Use Operation Maintenance Cooperation Agreement between the state of Minnesota and the city of Chisholm.
Yes, attached I have the contract, which the attorney has reviewed and approved, and a resolution for support of this pier. I'm very
You froze up on your last sentence, but we're looking for a motion to adopt resolution 0621-62, council.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Travis. Seconded by Adam. Thank you. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Marty.
Tammy, could you refresh us on the amount of state funding and then the amount of city funding on this project?
I am not sure how much the state is putting in for the funding. All I know, part of our portion is $10,000 and some in-kind services of using a loader and with our city employees to install the year. I don't know what their portion is. I'm sure it's over $10,000.
Thank you.
Tammy, that's the one on the corner, right? The northeast corner by Heritage Manor there?
Correct, the one that's in dire need.
Okay. Council, any other discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Tammy. Stephanie, Resolution 0621-63, uncommit cemetery improvement funds for security improvements. I'll let you talk a little bit about what you're thinking out there and why we need to do this. I don't think everybody understands.
Yep, I'll probably call in Eileen for a couple for her expertise on this. I've been working with Larry. We are getting some technology improvements out at the cemetery, internet, cameras, a phone, and computer. In order to do that, we have to uncommit the cemetery improvement funds in order to spend it. Eileen, if you want to touch on that just a little bit more on the process of uncommitting the funds.
Sure, thank you, Stephanie. So committed funds means that council approved and adopted a resolution to put funds to serve a specific purpose. So what resulted was the cemetery improvement fund, and it can be used only for improvements to the cemetery. So, but I was advised by our auditors that we need to uncommit these funds before we can utilize them. They are sitting in a savings account, so obviously we can't draw funds directly from that through a check. But in order to use them, it's really important that we change the status from committed to uncommitted. And it essentially unrestricts the funds for our use. But it does require your recognition, your review, and your acknowledgement. So, thank you.
Council, so our staff would like to do some improvements in the area of security out in that area. Phones, computer, internet. We would need to adopt this 0621-63 to uncommit the cemetery improvement funds in order to use them. I would look for motion to allow them to do that.
Make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that.
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Council, further discussion on that item?
Eileen, am I correct in, so there's 163,000 approximately in that account, and this resolution says that it must maintain a balance of 75. So as long as 75 remains in there, we're in good shape.
Yes, that is correct.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Council, any other discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Nicola Raha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. The motion carries. Second item under Stephanie, Council, as you know, Chisholm is the sponsor city for Northern Tracks ATV Club. Each year, Northern Tracks writes a grant to Minnesota Department of Natural Resources to get funds to maintain their trails. As you can see, they were awarded $22,950 for the Chisholm ATV Trail and $11,050 for the Chisholm ATV Trail extension. We would need a motion to adopt Resolution 0621-65 to accept that money and act as their fiscal agent as a pass-through for it, I think would be the correct term. So I would look for a motion to.
to adopt 0621-65 and act as the fiscal agent for the pass-through.
Thank you, Adam. Is there a second for that?
Support, Marty.
Thank you, Marty. Brian, I didn't say anything in that motion there that created an issue, did I?
No, you didn't, Mayor.
We're accepting the funds, and we're always the pass-through agent whenever they get grants. So
correct.
I don't see any other discussions. All right.
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michalaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Motion carries. Let me get to the Wendell page. Council, as we're all aware, we have Wendell 5 Bugles. We approved allowing them to design our public safety building and bring the project all the way to plans and specs. As you also are well aware, we've made numerous changes along the line. At one point, we actually downsized the building to try to save a little bit of money and made some changes. Then we found ourselves in a situation where we're going to own an ambulance service, and then we redesigned the building to factor that back in. If you understand everything that's in this document, starting on page 73, you're better than I am. But basically, what Wendell's 5 Bugles is looking for is final approval to move ahead and get this design done. We tried to get an estimate of where the building is at cost-wise right now. If some of you that are on that committee will remember, I believe, that we tried to get it down to about $7 million. I think that's the number we're shooting for. And I think we were pretty close, but then when we added the ambulance back in, obviously we created a big addition there. Stephanie and I reached out to Robert Krasnowski and Laura, and I think their exact terminology was, what did he say? He needs to get the schematic design done, which is part of this approval tonight, in order to get a closer estimate on where we're really at, I think is what he said.
That's correct, Mayor. They need to get through the schematic design to provide an accurate estimate.
So that's what they're looking for, based on the floor plan we seen at the last meeting, to get this thing to plans and specs. And as soon as they have the real cost estimate for the building itself, they're going to let us know. But they're not there yet because they have to get more information into this. So this is just an extension of what we already approved, but obviously we're going to pay a little extra money because of the changes we made along the way. So unless we're going to back out of this whole deal, I'd be looking for a motion to approve this updated proposal for the public safety building, and let's get it to plans and specs.
I'll make a motion to approve the updated proposal.
Thank you, Adam. Second for that?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely.
How much more money are we going to have to pay to get an updated proposal? Because I'm really confused.
You're not the only one. I've had about 27 discussions about this. So, Stephanie, Jim might even have an idea too. What do we think? See, the hard part is it's based on what the final building costs us. So that schematic number, we don't know what the estimate is on the final building construction yet. Stephanie, what do we think this actually added to our original contract that we do you recall?
We do. If you look on page 77 in the packet, April, where it has the proposal fees. So when we were awarded the bonding money, that came along with it the B3 requirements. Within that B3 requirements, they are adding an additional $138,560 in order to be able to include the B3 requirements within the design work. And then on top of that, we have a 6.1% of the cost of the whole building. So if we're, estimated cost, if we're looking more towards an $8 million building, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jim, but it would be 6.1% of that cost of the whole facility, correct, Jim?
That is correct. As bid.
So it would be those two numbers together, what this proposal fee is looking at.
That's ridiculous.
Mr. Mayor, do you mind if I make a comment?
Nope.
So I'm not gonna, everyone knows how I've felt about this company since the get-go. So my only concern with this, now I understand that we added on to the building with the ambulance service, but I had a problem a month or a month and a half ago or whenever it was when they were talking to us about these B3 requirements. And at that meeting, I think Marty and myself questioned as to why they didn't include this initially. And so my concern or my lack of thrillness, I guess, is the same as it was then. So now it's another 138,000 on top of that. So I don't know. I've not been a fan this whole time along, and that's not a secret to anybody, but I'm not exactly thrilled about another $138,000 on top.
Steph, do you want to address, Stephanie, do you want to address that, or as we talked with the mayor the other day?
Yes. So when Wendell first started the design work on this facility, they were not aware, and neither was the city, of the B3 requirements. Myself and Jim had met with the state representative for the bonding dollars that we received. It was late winter, early spring, correct, Jim? Probably February, March time. And that's when we were notified that we had to incorporate the B3 within this design work. And after that discussion is then when Wendell was notified of it too. So then they brought in their environmental department to help with this design, to be able to make sure that we fall within that B3 requirements, because we cannot get the bonding dollars if we do not have B3 within the building. And that, when we started designing it, we didn't have the funds and we didn't know that was a requirement. Do you have anything to add to that, Jim?
Just that as part of that $138,000 fee, Stephanie and I had spent quite a few hours trying to put together. The state requires, as they said, these B3 guidelines require the preparation of a pre-design manual, which Stephanie and I spent a lot of time on, but didn't have the expertise to fill out many portions of it that deal with energy conservation and other issues of the same. And then once that is done and submitted to the state, the state has to approve it. And then we have to prepare and submit a design manual. And both of those items are part of that 138,000. But the whole process of preparing it and then the timeline of the state reviewing it has an impact on the schedule. It has an impact on just how much work has to be done, both in design and the preparation of these manuals. And that's why I thought it was wise that they put it in there as a hourly rate basis with a maximum cost not to expend. It kind of protects them, but protects us as well. So we can get it done as economically as possible, I guess is what I would say. I think it makes a lot of sense for that. task B or the B3 requirements to be done on that hourly cost basis, and we will get their hourly rates so we can review those when they invoice us for that work. And then just quickly to maybe address April, the 6.1%, if you read my memos, there's one that I prepared back that's in your packet on page 80. The 6.1% is very consistent with what the rate has been to date. It was just that Wendell 5 Bugles was a subconsultant to Kraus Anderson in the first contract, and their portion of that contract amounted to $72,900. And then when we issued the second contract, which made Wendell 5 Bugles the prime contractor, that's where they came up with 4.75%, or about $401,000. But the two numbers together represent just under $475,000, which is right in that neighborhood of 6.1% of the estimated costs that we were dealing with, in the neighborhood of about $7.75 million. So it's really just a continuation of that same fee. It's just that under their current contractor, the one that they invoiced us through the end of April, which took us up to the point of starting to incorporate the EMS. Now they're back to almost square one in terms of redesign. So of their first proposal or their first budget, which was $401,000, as you see, all this extra work that they've done under their contract to date amounted to about $336,000, or about 85% of that fee. But that really pays them for all that extra work done to that point. So now this second proposal is really starting almost from scratch to carry forward now through this schematic design, the design development, the preparation of plans and specs. But they have also included bidding services, which were not included in the original proposal from Wendell 5 Bugles. With that, I would be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
So, Council, I can tell you that I'm, as disappointed as many of you are in this thing. It was unfortunate that when many of us were elected, the plan was already in front of us. It was, for the most part, designed already. It hasn't changed a lot. We're still designing a 100-year-old or 100-year life building. And, with all the changes that had to take place as we tried to adjust this thing, I mean, the first change, trying to get it down to 7 million. The reason I pushed that one is because I felt that, with our auditors saying we potentially could spend $4 to $5 million out of the bank, knowing we had 1.9 million from the legislature, knowing that I was looking at trying to get some Iron Range Resources money for utilities and stuff. I thought we were really close at $7 million. Unfortunately, we couldn't foresee what would happen with the ambulance service, which brings us to where we're at right now. Like you said, it was kind of almost an unfair advantage for Wendell 5 Bugles because of how far they had gone down the road when many of us got involved, as well as their relationship with the staff that some of you felt could have went a little different. But at the end of the day here, we got the proposal in front of us. If we don't go forward with it, the project is essentially dead, and we'll be telling the legislature they can take their 1.9 million back. So we're between a rock and a hard place, and we've expended a lot of money already. That's where we're at. That's the nuts and bolts of this right now. That's the decision you're making. Are they finishing the design so it's ready to bid or not? So,
Mr. Mayor, I got a quick question for you, or Mr. Johnson. So with the last proposal that they had given us before we decided to take over the Chisholm ambulance service, why couldn't we have gone with that after you guys did all the changes and did everything? Because now we're going to be probably purchasing the ambulance building. So we wouldn't need another bay for the ambulance service. Because right now we're going to be how many hundreds and thousands of dollars because of this?
I would agree with you, except that the committee came up with the addition, and I think anyone on the council could have went there, and I would have backed off. So, like you said, it was the people, the city staff that got together and felt with the ambulance service we should add it. So that's why it got added, because everybody in the room thought now that we were going with the ambulance service. But yeah. And it does make sense, an unfortunate part on top of it, April, to follow up on it, is when the bonding committees from the House of Representatives and the Senate were in Chisholm looking at our police fire station. They all asked us if the ambulance service was involved. They probably would have got us some more money. That question was asked specifically, and at that point we had to tell them, well, it's a private organization running our ambulance service, and it actually probably costs us some money that is very much needed right now, especially based on the B3 stuff that we learned from the legislature in the 11th hour, unfortunately. Go ahead, Marty. Sorry about that.
I was going to say that the ambulance is going to be adding a lot of cost to this building. And if we can go to the legislature and get more money with the assurance that the ambulance is going to move there, if it helps significantly, I think I'd be in favor of that. I was not at the last building committee meeting when this was decided. I'm pretty much in favor of keeping the ambulance where it is for more than one reason. One is the cost, and one is the sanitary conditions. I don't know that you're going to get good sanitary conditions in a garage full of fire equipment and other such things. I think it's important that the ambulances stay in their own facility for sanitary reasons and cost reasons. The longer building is going to be relatively cheap compared to the cost of building this. I mean, we can build a building. I don't know. Might just end up being part of the fire department in Larry's shop. I'm not so sure that it's a great idea to move the ambulance there, especially with cost. I think we should not go with a percentage fee like this. With the way building costs are going up, we might get a very high bid because of high building costs for materials. Lumber alone has gone crazy. Steel, all commodities are very high priced right now. Bid prices might be very, very high. And if you do an architecture fee based on percentage, you're going to be artificially paying a lot more to the architect. That would be much more in favor of just a capped fee. I would say I'd cap it start at 500, 550,000, no more than that. They can do their B3 stuff. They can suck it up and tighten their belt and get our design done. They're not making that many changes. It's not that big of a change. It's not a start over. It really isn't. They've got all the CAD information and they can make the changes. I don't believe that they need to get a huge fee off of us. And I think by doing a percentage of construction, they are going to get a very, very large fee. It's going to cost the city a lot of extra money for no reason. So I'd be in favor of just a capped fee. I'd start at 500,000, and if they aren't willing to go there, I'd go 550. But I don't think I'd go any higher than that. Thank you,
Marty. Had we directed this back to say our administrator, they probably would be willing to look at a number. However, to B3, Stephanie and Jim may know more about this, but I do know that they have to do submissions. They have to do all the approvals and submissions and everything with the state legislature, which is kind of time consuming. I think that's why that kind of got left kind of open-ended or with a not to exceed number, because they don't even know how extensive that's going to be. What do you, Stephanie, Jim, what do you guys know about that? I've heard, I'm hearing some discussion about that. I don't know myself either.
Mayor, I would refer the council and yourself and the staff to the proposal on page 75 and 76 and 77, starting about the middle of the page on page 75. All the tasks associated with each phase of putting together that B3 small building requirements or meeting that. They take you through the schematic design phase, the design development phase, the construction documents phase, as well as the bidding phase in regards to those B3 requirements, that being separate from task A, which is really just the design, plans and specs, bidding for the building itself. If you look at that list, it's pretty long and there's a lot of stuff in there that I have no idea what's required or how we would answer it.
Jim?
Yes, sir.
How long do you have any idea how long this B3 requirement has been in place?
I was not even aware of it until we were notified, as Stephanie indicated, by the Department of Administration from the state. And as Stephanie said, I think it was late last year or early this year that a Julie Monson contacted us and started making us aware of the B3 requirements. Quite frankly, based on a discussion of Stephanie, the mayor, and I last week or earlier this week, quite frankly, the B3 requirements in terms of the building costs and in terms of the study costs may pretty well eat up that $1.9 million that we got as a bonding grant.
The reason I ask that is because I have a hard time believing that in all their years of construction, they've never come across this before. But yet, this wasn't in, I don't know. I just have a hard time believing that they would have no knowledge of B3 and they build fire stations all over the place.
Stephanie, go ahead, Stephanie.
B3 is a Minnesota requirement. Wendell 5 Bugle is out of Wisconsin, so that could be part of it too. Is it's only a Minnesota requirement from the state legislature.
And again, Travis, when we entered into that first contract with Wendell 5 Bugles, I think was back in about 2018 or 2019, and it wasn't until we were notified about a year ago that we had received the $1.9 million from the state legislature in bonding money. And the first that I became aware of and Stephanie became aware of the B3 requirements being a portion or being required to be addressed with the bonding money was again late 2020 or very early this year.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Also, one thing we're kind of forgetting with the cost of this, I think it was last September when we updated the committee. It was supposed to be myself, Councillor Bakke, and Councillor Fulton, and Mayor Ciampa was supposed to sit in if somebody couldn't make it. I only saw Mayor Ciampa at those committee meetings, and it went all the way through to the end of the year. And the end of January, they brought a 95% plan to us. And we deemed it was too expensive. And I think it was because the right people weren't at the meetings. And that's why I was very vocal that the council needed to be up to date on this and aware of everything that was happening. So when we moved upon that, before the EMS was even brought into it, they had to blow up that whole building. So they started from scratch at that point. Then when the EMS came over and we decided that we're going to add that in there, Obviously that just kind of changed their direction, but the costs were already starting to accumulate. I would disagree with Councillor Halverson. The ambulance, it backs in just the same as a fire truck. It's got exhaust the same as the fire engines do. The new building's going to have updated HVAC systems. It's going to have quarters for EMTs so we can advertise and try to get and build our roster. Right now they have 9 volunteers and 2 of those are EMRs, and that's not going to be sustainable. We need to find a way to build that up. And by moving them into a 100-year building for the future of Chisholm, that's what we need to be looking at here. There's many different uses we can use for that building. And obviously, I think we have to purchase that building. I totally agree with that. But it should not kill this project. And one thing we've done here, we already $1 million deep with Wendell. If we pull the pin here, we'll do the same thing that the council did back in the 80s and the council did in the 90s and probably in 2002, where they lost this every time. This isn't a want that we're trying to do for our community. This is a need. You can ask Chief Manor, you can ask Chief Masusi, and any one of the people on the services. This is not adequate for what we're doing, and it's not adequate for what we're moving into the future. The ambulance building isn't adequate for what they're doing in the future. It's a garage with a barrier wall and an office on the other side. We need to be looking at building our future here, and this is where it starts.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Marty.
I would send this back, and I would be happy capping their fee at $400,000 plus $138,000 for the B3. Grand total $538,000, not to exceed that number.
Is that a motion, Marty?
I already made a motion.
No, it's not. We already have a motion on the table with no seconds. So, but this is all discussion happening without a second. So I would.
All right, so let's look for a second for Adam's motion. So Adam, you're moving. Your motion is to move forward with the proposal as provided.
100%, absolutely.
Councilor, is there a second for that motion? Second call for a second. So I'm going to pass my gavel to my vice president, Marty Halverson, since Adam made the motion, and I'm going to second Adam's motion to move forward with the proposal. And the meeting is in Marty's hands right now.
I'm the vice president, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I think with your motion, I think it would pay to skip over you. Oh, are you?
Perfect.
You're the president, aren't you, Adam?
I'm president. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, so sorry about that. I went right to my vice president because you made the motion. So, Marty, we do have a motion and support then.
Is there any further discussion from the council or staff on this?
I'm sorry, I just kind of want to, I agree. I have a concern about that fee with building materials, what they are. That I don't feel like it's unrealistic to ask for at least to have a conversation about it to see what we could do for that piece of it.
Okay, thank you, Cheyenne. Any other discussion? Last call. Any further discussion from council?
We have a lot of educated staff here tonight. I'd love to hear from someone.
Well, Mr. Mayor and Council, Marty, there's a lot of discussion going on back and forth. I think one of the questions with the EMS, I think Adam nailed it on the head. The idea is eventually bringing that EMS staff to the same building to have all of your public safety under one building and a modern facility where you all work together. I think they'll outgrow that ambulance garage. And this will have the amenities to bring in that additional volunteers for that service. So at first I was like, yeah, I'll leave them in their own building too. But it does make sense to put them all under one efficient building in the future. As far as I don't know how these things work. If that's the way, if that's what they're proposing is that percentage, and is that normal business or not? I don't know, but I'm thinking we're looking at this not going until next year, anyways, when we're hoping that materials start to go back the other way, and it's just too hard to bid this year. So a lot can happen in the next 6 months before this goes and gets bidded out. So we're hoping it goes down.
Thank you, Vern. Is there any other discussion?
Hey, Marty, this is Eileen. I just wanted to say something as a person who's come into this organization as an outsider and watching this unfold, this entire process, and understanding the need for a new building. I also see the financial piece, and this is a huge price tag, and the future generations of this community are going to be paying for it for a long time. And that's, as the fiduciary of the city, it's certainly a concern, but it's really about weighing what's more important, providing this service to your community, as you described, Adam, is really important for us to think about. But it's also, it's going to be years, it's going to be decades, especially if we're borrowing money to pay for this. It's going to be a long time before it's paid off. So your grandkids are going to be paying for this. So just to give you some perspective on that, it's quite massive. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Any other comments?
Marty, this is Jim. I think the council, before we got to dealing, when we took the building from about 24,000 square feet back to about 18,000 square feet, were we looking at about a $7 million budget at that time, or a building cost at that time? That's kind of the number I remember. I'm just trying to see if my memory is correct, because about 6% of $7 million would be about $420,000. Now we've added some space. If we're going to go to, if our price tag becomes $8 million, 6% of that is $480,000. So I think your thought or idea to have a discussion with Wendell 5 Bugles to see what a maximum fee might be, to me, something probably in that neighborhood of $450,000 to $500,000 might be an appropriate cap. But that's just my own, personal opinion. But I think it may be worthwhile to at least have that discussion with Wendell 5 Bugles.
Okay, thank you, Jim. I think that's my recollection as well. And I think Mayor Champa also alluded to the $7 million estimate on the smaller building. However, now we're almost back up to the original size. And so I think we're getting back towards that $9 million mark. And with inflation of building materials, and we don't know if it's going to be better next year or not. Maybe it'll come down, maybe it'll go up, maybe it'll be the same. We're just I feel we're taking a large gamble by going with the percentage of construction as the basis for the architectural fee. I've been in the business before, and those types of fees can be either very, very beneficial to the architect or not. So with the risk of this building going way up in price and up in scope, they stand to gain a lot of money. And they aren't starting from ground zero. That's why I think they're very familiar with this site, very familiar with the project. It's not like starting completely over. So I don't agree with that. I think we just go back to and propose 400,000 and add the B3 cost of 138 and start there and negotiate and see if we can't get a fixed fee contract.
And Marty, maybe it's a hybrid of the two, that it's 6.1% with a cap of some dollar figure. That may be.
Yes, yeah, yep. That's good. That's also a good way to do it with a cap. So, okay, is there any other discussion from staff or council or Mayor Champa? Any more thoughts?
Can I just say a couple things?
Go ahead, man.
Absolutely.
Hi. Yep. I just wanted to weigh in a little bit and just, let everybody know the urgency of keeping this project moving forward. Our current building, our current PD and fire department is in a state of disrepair right now. So I just wanted to, let everyone know that we really do need to keep this project moving forward and hopefully on schedule, because we're going to be looking at then allocating some major funds into repairing what we have now, because it's starting to become very unsafe for our employees.
Yeah, thank you, Mandy. We know that it's only getting worse. It's been bad for a long time. It's only getting worse. And I don't know if anybody's against the project. I think we're just trying to figure out how to pay for its fees, how to minimize our costs. But I think we've got a couple of $100,000 out on the table right now in a high stakes card game with Wendell. And I don't want to see us losing that money for no reason. So that's why I would go to my preference would be a fixed fee.
I understand that 100%. I would just hate to have something happen to what they're in currently, because it's only a matter of time now. That's all.
Thank you, Mandy. Any other discussion?
If I could, Councilor Halverson, 6 point. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I'm learning all the time, and when I hear 6.1%, is it a industry standard like Jim Johnson would know? Before Jim Johnson's latest comment, I was kind of had the impression that Jim Johnson would have said that that's a pretty good deal, 6.1%. And I would stress that it feels like, and I've tried to stay out of this because it's not my project and we all have plenty to do, but we've all been okay with 6.1% the whole time. And then we went back and we got down to 7 million, and it was a little bit, that 6.1% wasn't as affected, but now we're up to that bigger percentage on square footage again. And now it's just a little bit more money, but it's still 6.1% that we were really okay with the whole time. And I truly believe, with, like Jim mentions, the list of stuff that they do for 6.1% seems reasonable to me. Now, I'm not on the council either, and I don't have to sign my name to it. The other thing I would say is that, besides what Mandy said about this, if this, we're so far along right now, and then, but I would think it's important also to separate the B3, which I know you are, Councilor Halverson, in your statement there with the 138,000 for that. But the ambulance and the B3 is separate. We didn't intend on the B3. Nobody really did. When we did the project, when they designed it in 18 and started in 19 and 20, it was never a factor. So it was never a problem. Well, I just wanted to stress that the ambulance is separate. Yes, it's going to add money, but it'll make money eventually is the plan. And then the B3 was unforeseen. There's state funds to help pay for that because it's their requirement. And then the 6.1%, I feel like everybody was okay with it the whole time. And I don't know if 6.1% is a good deal or not. Is 7 an industry standard? Is 10? Is 9? I really don't know. But it just feels like 6.1% is not out of hand or inflated pricing is my point.
Larry, I will respond. I think 6.1% is a very reasonable percentage fee for the services they are providing. But Marty's also right that, if we had been bidding this project a year and a half, 2 years ago, before the pandemic hit and before the price of materials started to skyrocket, would have been just fine with it. But right now we're fighting the inflationary value of the materials themselves, and it's not costing the architect any more in terms of time or material or labor based on the prices of a year and a half ago versus what they are today. So I think Marty's headed down the right way. I think 6.1% is a very reasonable fee. but I also think that a discussion with Wendell of capping that at some number is it allows them to make a profit, but we're not paying an exorbitant profit, if you will. I think it's worth a discussion, and I think maybe a good compromise to protect both sides of the party. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And I guess to shed a little history on this project from the previous council, I guess for Councillor Baki's benefit, the original idea was to have Kraus Anderson develop and finance the whole project. And they had hired their architect as a subcontractor. So there was no intent originally to get any state bonding money. I believe that came in, well, after I was off the council. So the bonding money and the B3 requirement came in after the original thought and after Wendell was already on board. And as Stephanie mentioned, there are a Wisconsin firm. I don't know that they're as familiar with Minnesota issues, and maybe, maybe they should have been, maybe that's hindsight right now. But I guess the history of this project was that it was going to be designed, built, operated, and financed by Kraus Anderson under a lease agreement. And we were going to pay a monthly lease fee to Kraus Anderson. It was going to be a 100% turnkey project. So that the whole methodology of delivering this project has changed completely, where Kraus Anderson's out of the picture now, and now we're trying to do it with funds and city funds and grants and whatever other package. And that's why I've been harping on everybody to get a financing package put together. We don't have a financing package. We don't know where this money's coming from altogether. And what if the bid comes in at $10 million or 10 plus 11 million because of inflation and the rampant high prices right now? Well, not only is the building costing more, but then our architectural fee is going to go up proportionally. We'll pay an extra $200,000-300,000 in architectural fees for nothing. That's why I'm guarding against a percentage of fee. Normally, in a normal business condition, I would say 6% is a reasonable fee. But in this case, I don't agree with it. And especially we've already paid them over $300,000. By the time we add this in, we're going to be dishing out $1 million in architectural fees for maybe a $10 million building or $9 million building. That's going to be 10 to 12% when we're done. So that's why I want them to get competitive, tighten their belt. And they did the first design for $400,000. There's no reason why they can't redesign for $400,000. Add 138 for B3, and I would counter and go back to them with an offer of $538,000. So that's my input again. Anybody else have any further discussion on this issue?
Councillor Halverson, I just want to say thank you for bringing that up, and that really has been my issue all along, is the fact that we've already paid them so much money and now we're going to pay them again. And I do know that they've done fire departments in Minnesota. Whether that was bonding dollars, I don't know. But aside from that, if I put that aside, I would vote yes for your idea, Marty. I don't know if Adam and Mayor Champa have reconsidered maybe what Jim was proposing, but that is one way in which I would vote yes.
Thank you, Travis. Any further discussion from anyone?
Marty, I'm going to just chime in. I like you said, I supported Adam's motion, and I intend to vote yes on Adam's motion, mainly because I mean, we just keep changing things, and this thing drags on. And at the end of the day, this job is going to be a competitive bid, and it's going to be the best bid we're getting on that day. But I see your point as well. And I'll tell you right now that if Adam and my motion does not pass, I'll vote for yours as well, because it doesn't hurt to ask. But I would hope when we do that, I think your number might be a little bit low, but if we get there, we'll have that discussion.
That's kind of the point, is to start further away from where you think you're going to end up. Start low and then come together in the middle somewhere, or just say, come on, let's get it done.
Marty, can I one last follow up? I appreciate the conversation too.
Yes, Larry.
And maybe it's a question for Attorney Lindsay, but I just have this bad feeling that now, can 5 Bugles say this is industry standard? This is the way we drafted the contract. This is what we want to stay with, or we're walking away. Is that a possibility, or are they under contract to finish this in any way? Can they walk away? You know, stating the money that we have already paid them.
I would say that's not an industry standard.
I'm just asking, Mark. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. I just don't know. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
You know, is that something that they can do? Can they walk away from this if they don't agree?
If we can't come to agreement, they could walk away. But 6%, yeah, maybe that's a reasonable standard. Percentage fees, sometimes they're 6, sometimes they're 7, sometimes they're 8. Usually the bigger the contract, this percentage goes down. Like if it was a 20 or 30 or $40 million building, it might be down at 3 or 4%. Would be my recollection from my old days of doing this type of work. But I know, Attorney Lindsay, if you could weigh in on what you think of this. But you know, contracts can be lump sum, they can be percentage, they can be time and materials. There's really no standard.
What I can offer is this: if we're changing terms, either party can turn and walk away because we haven't got that essential meeting of the mind. But all options can be on the table so long as all the parties are open to discussing them. So anything is possible. A cap or contingent fee, it's all there. But if one side doesn't agree and there's a change in the terms, the other party can say, well, I just don't agree to those changes, and that's it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Attorney, and thank you, Larry. Anything else from anybody?
I just have one thing just to take into consideration during this whole process. With the rollout of the American Rescue Funds, I keep hearing we want to make sure we have these shovel-ready projects ready to go for some funding that could potentially be coming through. You know, infrastructure is a big one that I keep hearing about, and we're anticipating those funds coming up fairly soon. So it is kind of important on that funding side to be able to be ready for that potential additional funding for this facility to be pretty much shovel ready. I just want to throw that out there so everyone's kind of aware on where that falls to, and just to keep that into consideration.
Thank you, Steph. I guess with that in mind, I don't think there's anybody here that wants to stop the project. Maybe some of us do, but I certainly don't want to stop the project. I want to see it go. I just think we will need to be careful about where we're throwing our money around. And this is a big risk. We could be leaving hundreds of thousands of dollars on the table. I'd say maybe we can get them to start with 400 plus the 138. And if they expend it and they're not done and they need more, they can come back, and we could allocate some more if they need another 50,000 or 100 to finish it. I think we're at least paying for what we're getting and not subject to the whims of the bidding system and the prices of materials. And, you know, basing our fee for our architect on the price of construction, to me, is just a big risk at this point in time. Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll take a vote on Adam's motion to accept this proposal with a second from Mayor Ciampa. Margaret, would you take a vote, please?
Counselor Halverson.
No.
Counselor Michelaraha.
No.
Counselor Fountain.
No.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
No.
Mayor Ciampa.
Yes. All right, I'm gonna take my gavel back. That motion failed. Marty, did you want to make a motion then?
Yes, I will make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to propose an initiative handle 5 bugles of $400,000 plus the 138,000 and odd, whatever exact dollar amount it is for the B3 asset, 138,500. So I would start with that and offer that as a counter proposal to them with the possibility of, approving extras that are justified by their invoices. And
Marty, I like your motion. I don't know that I would suggest that last part at the beginning. I think I would probably suggest that we just go with your motion and let's see what we get back for feedback.
okay, I'm prepared to amend 400,000 for design fee, 138,500 for the B3 requirement.
There's a second for Marty's motion.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion?
Can I clarify?
Yes, go ahead, Stephanie.
In Marty's motion, it was $138,500 for the B3. In the proposal, it's $138,560. Did you want to go with the 500 or 560?
Oh, 560, I guess my old eyes didn't read the number correctly.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Go ahead, April.
Mr. Johnson was suggesting like going up to 450 to start there. Is that correct? Jim?
I was just giving some numbers, and as I understand Marty's motion, it's at least it's our first offer on the table. I guess I'll put it that way. It seems to me that probably Stephanie, the mayor, whoever needs to have a discussion with Wendell 5 Bugles to start that discussion of what should be an appropriate number. The other thing, I'm sorry, it is 138,560. Okay, I stand corrected on that one. But the one thing I want to make clear, Marty, is that that task B, the 138,560, would still be based at time and material with a not to exceed. So we're not, making the whole contract 538,560. Or just a point of clarification. It seems there's a task A, and I think what you're suggesting is I'm not sure. Is it 6.1% with a cap of $400,000, or is it just a fixed fee of $400,000, and then task B would be the time and material with a cost not to exceed of the 138,650 or 560, excuse me, 138,560.
Yeah, Jim, I'm proposing a fixed fee of 400,000 for design, and then the time and materials not to exceed 138,560 for the B3. So as of now, the new grand total would be not to exceed 538,560. And yeah, task A, task B separate, and definitely on a time and materials basis. Maybe they can bring it in for 100,000. That would be great.
Marty, would you add something could be negotiated?
At this point, no, I agree with the mayor. Let's just make an offer and see if they accept it. If they don't, then they're gonna have to make a counter offer, and we're gonna have to see what the counter offer is and go from there. But at this point, not.
Second.
Thank you, April. We didn't have a second yet?
Cheyenne.
Yeah, I thought Cheyenne seconded. Okay, I thought we had one. Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So we got a third. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes. Stephanie, just so you're clear, either you or I can write that email to Five Bugles, but basically we're concerned about unreasonably high bids because of the environment we're in, and that's why we're trying to cap it at the 400,000 plus their B3 quote, basically. So that would be it. That's our counter offer that we believe they should be able to do it for. And you and I can discuss it further tomorrow. That be correct, Marty?
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right. Good. We'll move on. Scheduled joint meeting with the Airport Authority and the Hibbing City Council to discuss the budget and levy of the airport. They'd like to hold that August 16, 2021 at 6 p.m. and I would look for a motion to hold that meeting.
Motion.
Thank you, Adam. Second.
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion? Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, a motion carries. Suspend City Council meeting July 14th, August 11th. Council, this is just a suggestion by me. I don't know that I've ever suspended council meetings in my time as mayor, many years, 11 years of it. However, we just went through just an absolutely nightmare year for our staff, along with everybody. And, this doesn't help them tons, but, one less council meeting for the next couple months during the summer months. A lot of people are there's a lot of things going on. We have family members that are sick and everything else. And I just think it would be a kind gesture to our staff. It saves them a little time as they don't have to prepare for one council meeting, prepare reports, prepare documents. And should we need to meet for something emergency, we could do a special meeting within 72 hours, approve an item and move on. City staff administration has already been approved to pay our bills, and we have an auditing committee, so we could do this. So I think it would be I think it would be a good kind gesture to our staff to just give them a little bit of a break, and maybe it'll help them catch up a little bit as well. So thoughts for the first meeting in July, first meeting in August. So.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Well, having this long discussion about the public safety building in Wendell, I'd say as soon as we have a counter offer from them, or if they accept our offer, we need to make a motion on that and approve it. I don't think we can afford the time delay, so I think I would be in favor of calling a special meeting just to get that approved if and when that time comes, instead of waiting for another month.
Yep.
Just my thought. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree, Marty. I agree. Would you make a motion to suspend the meetings then, with that in mind?
Yes, I'll make the motion to suspend these two meetings with the intent that you and staff would direct us to a special meeting, and especially with the case of this Wendell Five Bugles issue.
Thank you, Marty. Is there a second for that?
Support.
Was that Cheyenne? Brian, let me ask you a question as long as you're still on here with us. So we made a counter offer. If they accept that, there's really no action needed by us, is there?
Correct. If we make the offer and they accept then the meeting of the minds has been reached.
Okay. It's good. Just FYI. Okay. All right. We do have motion support to suspend those two meetings. Council, further discussion. Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Baki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. That motion carries. Marty, I'll just turn this one back over to you since it's yours anyway. The discussion on the rim trail and wanting to open it. You're our guy up there with Stephanie working on that. And I think you've always pretty much had approval. We accepted that trail. And when the two of you feel it's safe, you're pretty much authorized to go forward, I believe. However, why don't you get us all up to speed on where you're at there?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had requests this week from IROC to open the rim trail because of the grand opening coming up this weekend. And I guess the north side is fine. I think it's fine. I was out there personally clearing it myself with a weed whacker and the blower, and it's good to go. It's rideable. The weather patterns have been so dry that everything is pretty much completely dried up, and it is rideable and safe. However, the south rim portion has not really been cleared of weeds and overgrowth, and so I challenged IROC to get out there before Friday night and get it done. And I think if they go out there and they clear out all the overgrowth and the weeds and get it prepared, I don't see any reason why it couldn't open as well. Because, like I said, it's been so dry that everything is rideable and safe right now. If we get a lot of rain and get back into a wet pattern, that's why those clay portions will turn to mud again, and that's why we're doing the capping. But I have no problem opening it contingent upon IROC getting the south rim cleared by, I told them, Friday night. So in the name of transparency, I wanted the entire council to know, and if we need to take a vote, I think we can, we should. I just want to make sure everybody knows and is on the same page, and so everybody's aware of what's going on.
Marty, quick question. What would we'd be opening for the weekend. We'd probably be closing it relatively quickly because they're going to be working on it, right?
Yeah, Rock Solid started out there supposedly this past Monday, and they were working on some other aspects of the project. And they had about 2 weeks worth of work on those other projects, and then they were going to start working on the capping of this rim trail, which is going to be another couple of weeks. So as a minimum, they wanted it open for the weekend. You know, I guess we could keep it open until Rock Solid gets there, and when they get there, they can close it when they're working on it. I think that would be acceptable as well. Unless we get a lot of rain, it turns wet again, and it turns to wet clay, then I think we're going to have to close it. But, you know, their minimum request was grand opening. So for this weekend, I wouldn't have any problem keeping it open until Rock Solid decides to close it for working on it.
Council, you know, we've kind of been leaning on Marty and Stephanie to take a look at things up there and make decisions like this. I certainly have no reason why I would not allow it to open. At least in a temporary basis, if they feel it's safe and marked properly and everything like that. So it's going to be closed relatively quickly anyway, as they're going to be doing the final work on that thing. And if it becomes dangerous, they're going to have to close it anyway. So, and we're going to be on top of that between IROC and ourselves. So I would entertain a motion to allow that opening for this grand opening.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Adam. Is there a second for that?
Support.
Thank you, Cheyenne. Further discussion?
Marty, are you going to go check Friday morning?
Yeah,
just to make sure.
I'm going to go out there and check Friday night because I told them by the end of day Friday, because that'll give them tonight, tomorrow, and Friday to do it, because Saturday morning is pushing it because people are going to be wanting to ride out there at sunup Saturday morning. You know they will. So I gave them until Friday night. So I'm going to go out there Friday night late and see if they've got it done. North Rim, like I said, should have no problem opening. I just want to make sure they've got the south one ready. And if so, there's no reason it can't open. I think it can open and stay open until Rock Solid closes it to do their work.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate it.
Margaret?
Counselor Halverson.
Aye.
Counselor Michelaraha.
Aye.
Counselor Fountain.
Aye.
Counselor Lance.
Aye.
Counselor Vaki.
Aye.
Mayor Champa.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. So that's everything on our agenda, council. Just under miscellaneous, I know many on the council would like to look at getting council meetings open live again. I know Stephanie and Eileen are working to start a discussion with our public access people on how we make sure we're ready to do that again. Hopefully by the last meeting in July, we're able to put that together for you. We got a month here, so. Unless you have anything else, we look for motion to adjourn.
Mayor Champa,
Yes, Margaret.
did we have one more resolution?
Uh-oh, what'd I miss?
0621-64, apply and accept funds from the IRRR?
Uh-oh, where'd I miss that?
We did that one under economic development.
Did we do that? Okay, thank you.
I think that was a B2 on top.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, thanks, Margaret.
We could do it. Is it 10,000 if we do it again?
We could try.
Motion to adjourn, council.
I got a quick question, and maybe some direction can be given to me. So the Mudfest Todd Schnorr's putting on September 11th, and there's going to be some openings in between 2 and 5. Not going to be anything going on. If a citizen wanted to donate and buy a bounce house or two to put in Main Street, in front of gyms, in front of Snickers, something to kind of get more people downtown, something for the youths to kind of play with and have fun. How would they go about doing that? Where would they have to look at? Because I know the insurance is a big thing. Would they have to go through like Kiwanis or one of the clubs around town to try to get that in there? Or, is that something that the city's insurance could cover for a small event, during that open window? Or
Brian, you got any thoughts on that?
Mayor, my from a liability standpoint, obviously our league policy is going to cover anything that the city is involved with. That being said, I think my preference would be that it would work a lot like Slide the City, where you have a sponsoring organization would bring it in and kind of take care of it, and the city would just kind of make accommodations for it to be there.
Adam, my suggestion would maybe be, obviously Todd, being the promoter to Schnorr Medfest wouldn't have a problem with it because he's trying to do things in the city in between that when the ATVs leave and they come back anyhow. But maybe somebody like the chamber, because occasionally they have bounce houses throughout the town and things like that. That might be somebody that we could try to talk to and see if we can get some buy-in from them to assist us in doing something like that. And then it makes it sort of a city event, and some of our other coverages fall in place.
Perfect.
Hi, Adam, this is Eileen. I believe that you can purchase insurance through the provider of the bounce house as well.
Adam, just so you're aware, I do believe this was discussed at the last chamber meeting, and they didn't want any part of it. You can double check with Shannon, but my understanding was Todd had reached out to Shannon, and the chamber board decided against that. I don't know if it was just because of manpower or what. Maybe they would be open if someone else was going to man it. But you'd have to double check with Shannon just to be sure on that.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Second for motion.
Second.
Adam by Travis. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
You want to stay? All right. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned, everyone. Have a good evening.
Happy 4th, everybody.